Hello, lovelies. This is 5 Minute Manifesting, and I'm your host, Lovey Brown. Thank you so much for listening. I'm thrilled that you're here. And today I want to talk about you, and I want to ask you a question. Yes, you, the person listening to this right now, what words do you use to describe yourself? Now, I know that sounds like, the beginning of a job interview when people ask, what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself? But that's not what I'm getting at, so let's just hang on just a second. So what I really want to know is, in your internal world, and when it's just you in there, and there's no one else, right? Like, it's private. It's completely private in your internal world. No one else is there. Even though we are always communicating from within there, you don't have to feel embarrassed by that, so we can get to thought transmission another time. But, what are you really, truly, what words, specific words, and sometimes you have to think about it. And this isn't something you're going to share with anybody. This isn't your job interview answer. This isn't organized and efficient and self-motivated. This is what words you really are using when you're talking about yourself. Because often we have some words that aren't true necessarily, that are maybe not even what we want to be, but they're just how we really, truly are thinking of ourselves. So I really want you to settle in, get quiet, and think about what words, specific words, what's kind of, and maybe even the story that goes with those words, are you telling yourself underneath? And this does have to do with manifesting, I promise, but I just want to go somewhere soft for a minute. And maybe some of those words are really informed by early sort of events in your life where you feel that you really took that in and you've really sort of owned that label. And then I want you to decide, is that label true? And if it's something that feels good and something that you want to be true, then by all means, continue with that label. Continue with those words that you're describing yourself and move forward and be that person. But if they're not, I want you to know you're not that person. So let's use an example here. Let's say that when you were a child, you were really messy and you had lots of stuff around, and your parents or your caregivers constantly told you you were messy and lazy. That you were messy and lazy, and now you don't say that, you don't say that at the job interview. You don't say that to your friends necessarily, or maybe you do. But inside of yourself, you keep saying to yourself, oh, I'm messy and lazy. I can't help it. I'm messy and lazy. My apartment's always going to look like this. I'm messy and lazy. Or whatever. You don't have to continue with that story. You don't have to let that you've been repeating to yourself over and over again because somebody else told you that based on some external circumstances when you were a kid. You don't have to let that label define you for the rest of your life. Maybe that label is something even different than this. It's oh, no one's ever going to love you. You're unlovable. Or you're just not quite pretty enough. You're not handsome enough. You're not enough. And I want you to really just take a few minutes in meditation, or just get quiet. It doesn't have to be meditation. Just get quiet with yourself and really be honest with yourself. What words are you currently using to describe yourself inside of yourself? And you keep telling you that story over and over again, and it's not true. And then I want you to find something to replace it with. And even if it feels untrue, let's say you are that person that has the messy, lazy label on. And let's say that right now you've just lived with it for so long that you've embodied it. You've come to own those labels. How can you start to extricate yourself from that label? And if it feels too hard to just go straight to no, I'm organized and neat and a hard worker. I want you to if that feels too hard to go to, just be no, I am a person who chooses to be, and then you choose what you choose to be. I'm a person who chooses to be, and then you pick new words. And if it's the other example that I use, the unlovable, the not enough, that one you don't have to choose to be. That one is definitely untrue. You are lovable because you're on this earth and you're a person. You are enough because you are on this earth and you are a person. So go ahead and stop telling yourself. Start noticing when you're telling yourself that story and using those labels. Because probably you've done it so often, it just feels natural. That's why I'm making this episode today, is that I want you to ask yourself this question. I want you to really think about it. And then I want you to redefine yourself with who you want to be. Right? Like I said at the beginning of the episode, this is about you today. This is about you and no one else in your private internal world. This isn't about a specific person. This isn't about, your parents or your friends or your boss or your coworkers. It's not about anybody but you. And I want you to really first, so there's two parts. First, really pay attention. What words have you just been living with for so long that they've become your identity that you want to separate yourself from? And then what do you want your identity to be? What do you want to replace those words with? And just do that today. And then tomorrow we will talk about practicing your new identity. So thank you so much for listening, and may you manifest exactly what you want.